of a line perpendicular, so it was a perpendicular sign, to another line, the slope is negative reciprocal. Okay, so negative reciprocal, what does that mean again? Flip the fraction. Change the sign. Okay, so that's what negative reciprocal means. The problem is that we don't know the slope of this first line. That puts us in a dilemma. How can we calculate the slope of that first line? What can we do to this equation to help us figure out the slope? Vince?
You have to convert that equation to slope.
Slope. Yeah. So we want to convert this equation that we have, this line, into one that is like the most awesome form of equation of a line, which is y equals mx plus b, or the slope-intercept form. So let's do that. So here we get 3x plus 5y minus 30 is equal to 0. Is here a long time?
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to get there, what are we really doing? What are we really doing to this equation? 3 words. One of them is actually a letter. Yeah. Yeah, we're just isolating for y. We just want to get y by itself because the equation should look out something like y is equal to mx plus b. We just have y by itself. So we want to get y by itself here. So what is the one thing that we can do to start? Matthew?
Add 30.
Let's add 30 to each side. Minus 30 plus 30 is equal to 0 plus 30. So we get 3x plus 5y is equal to 30. We're partly there. What else can we do? Pooja?
Subtract 3x.
Good. So now we're going to subtract 3x. I'm going to take a shortcut here. So subtract the 3x on both sides. I'm just left with 5y on the left side. Then I get 30 minus 3x on the other. Done?
No.
What else do we have to do still? Matthew?
Divide by 5 on both sides.
Good. That's why I said that stuff that we learned 2 units ago, solving for equations, vitally important for math, rest of this year, and beyond. You constantly do the same things over and over again. Even though you get to more complicated math, you need to do those basics too. Okay? So here we got y is equal to 30 minus 3x over 5. So back in equations, we would be done. But that's not really the best form, right? That's not really y equals mx plus b. How did we get it there? Megan?
In reverse, you split the fraction in half, so it's like 30 over 5
Good.
minus 3x over 5. And then you switch 3 and 3.
Yeah, we can switch them around.
But you bring the negative.
Good.
You keep the negative.
So we get negative 3/5 x. And then can I reduce 30 over 5?
Yes.
Yeah.
To just plus 6. Okay? So here is the slope of this equation. Right? So if I was asked to find a line that was parallel to this equation, I would use that slope. But I'm not. We're looking for a line that's what? Perpendicular to it. Okay, so instead of standing this, so if y is equal to minus 3/5 x plus 6, so what is the slope perpendicular to this line? What is the slope that's perpendicular to this line? Katie.
5/3.
Right. So what I'm going to do is really go back. We want flip the fraction, right? I really want to take the negative of that. So we got really 5/3, right? So taking the negative of something is really, we're just changing the sign. So we converted the negative to a positive.
What about the x? Oh no, the x is different.
So that this helps us to slope. So again, we're asked to find an equation of a line where we're going to start off with. How are we going to start writing that equation?
X equals 5.
Megan?
X equals 5/3.
Okay, it just even the first thing we do.
Oh.
What's the standard form of our line equation? The best form that we want to start off with.
X equals m.
That x equals,
y equals mx plus b.
right? So this is the equation that we want to find. Start off with that. What can we start filling in now? The slope. So what's the slope, Courtney?
5/3.
Yeah, so we know that the slope now is 5/3 x plus b. We still don't know what b is. Okay? So now the issue is, how do we determine b? How do we determine b? Would you?
Well, in the question, it shows you the points 9 and 17.
Okay.
And going back, like the input and output, 9 could be considered as x and 17 could be considered as y. So you replace that in the equation, and it gives you y equals.
Excellent. Okay. So what Cujo was saying is because we're given this point 9, 17, remember that important thing I told you last class? Because this line is passing through there, that means these coordinates fit our equation. I really don't like passing through the point. Really, this point matches our equation. That's what it really means. This point matches our equation. So we plug in our x and y back in our equation over here. We got, what was the y value?
17.
And what was the x value?
9.
9. So because that point is on our line, that means x and y need to make this equation true. So that's what we can plug it in. Now how do we determine for b? We can isolate b, right? Going back to solving for equations. I could have given this as a test question back then. Solve for b, right? What value b will make this true then? So how do we go about solving for this stuff? No one? Paul?
Can I just leave? Can I just do the equation? Okay, so 5/3 times 9 equals 15.
Okay, so we're going to cross reduce. Right, we just cross reduce that.
And then 15 over.
So we get 15 plus b.
And then it's just algebra, so 7 equals 15 plus b. And then you, can I just do this simple and just say, have my next line be 17 minus 15 equals b, or should I do 17 equals b?
Just tell me what we're doing.
We're isolating for b,
Okay, and how we're doing that?
subtracting 15 from 17.
Good. So we're subtracting 15 from both sides. Okay? So we have 17 minus 15 over here, and so we're just left with b. So b is equal to 2. So now that we figured out b, therefore our equation is y is equal to,
17.
well,
Oh.
what do we start off over here?
5 over 5x plus 2.
Right? 5 and 3x, we already determined that. We just figured out what b is, and it's equal to 2. So that's the equation of a line that's perpendicular to the other line. Okay? Any questions about that? How can we just say that? Well, how do we know that we actually got the right answer here in terms of that point? We can check it. We said that the point 9, 17 is an actual point on this line. It has to be a point on this line because that's what the question said. The line passes through that point. So what happens when x is 9? What do we actually get for a y value? Oh, wait, y is equal to 5/3 times 9. So cross reduce here, I get 15. Oh, sorry, it's supposed to be plus 2. 15 plus 2. So y is equal to 17. So that point 9, 17 is on this equation. That's how we sort of can double check that we got the right equation. So here's a side question. Is that point important to get this equation? 9, 17.
Yes.
Yeah.
What happens if I didn't give you that point?
We wouldn't have been able to find these.
How many possible solutions are there then?
Anything.
So we have what from millions to 1.
Infinite.
Anything in between?
Everything in between.
So let me draw a quick diagram. So what was our other equation? Y is equal to minus 3/5 x plus 6.
Why didn't you just draw a line?
Because I hate drawing. And it's less accurate. Okay? So here we saw that this was say 0, 6. And maybe our line looked like something like that. So how many lines are perpendicular to this line? Well, here's one.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this was right angle. I'm trying to be 90 degrees. Here's another one.
That
Here's another one.
3. No.
So I could be here until you grow old and have grandkids drawing these lines. Okay? There's infinite amount of lines that cross this line at a 90-degree angle. But only one of them crosses at a point somewhere over here, 9, 17. And that was hopefully this one. So this was the line that was kind of wanting to calculate. Okay? So that's why that point was important. It told us exactly which one of these lines does that. Okay?
But-
Questions?
No.
Do you usually have good questions? Go ahead, ask him.
Well, I don't know what I was going to say now. I was going to say something like, can you not have given us halfway and just let us figure out any line?
But then that wouldn't have been a different.
The answer would have been y equals, then the real answer would have been y equals 5/3 x plus b, where b can be anything. Really? So what is really b here?
2.
But in general, what's b?
The y.
The y-intercept. In other words, we have an infinite amount of lines crossing the y-intercept that crosses. So b could be anything. So that's the real answer. If I posed it like that, that would have been the answer. Okay? Any other questions with this example? Okay, so we're going to talk about something else today. So that's the notes. This is the question that we'll start off with. So write that down, please. Good for the soul. Writing is good for the soul.
I have a question with the exam. Will all units be audited, or will you like put it up in 1 or 2?
All of them.
The exam?
Yeah.
Well, I really don't have to test equations because equations are already all in here.
You're gonna
So-
use everything we've done?
Well, that's what the final exam is all about.
No, but
Like,
the
I already
last
have all
year.
the answers?
No, but
You have all the answers? How would you have all the answers to the
Because you
final
just
exam?
said
I'm
you're
very
using-
interested in this, Andrea.
Because you just said you're using all the equations that you gave us.
No, I said I don't have to test you on equations
Oh.
because this unit is all about using equations to do stuff.
but like, are you gonna leave out like a unit or something? Cause like last year, like on science, we did the first unit on the exam. That was really nice. No, that was.
Cell biology.
Is this science?
No,
Oh, the same thing this year,
no,
no.
no, one unit for science.
We got no bio?
Cause otherwise it'd be like too long.
Focus on this.
Because we sound bad on
Yeah.
So find an equation for a line given the slope and a point. That might sound like gibberish for now. Hopefully by the end of this class it won't. So what I want to demonstrate is this example. Mr. Ross opened his internet bill, discovered it had been billed for $69. Flipped out. For the month's entire internet usage.
Goes and spazzes up and
$69.
What? Spazzes up and
He gets charged $2 for every gigabyte his family goes over the internet usage. And this month, a certain child of his, who will go nameless, went over the limit by 12 gigabytes.
Wait, is this the What did it do?
I think it's
all
How much is this internet bill normally when his family does not go over the
Are you
limit?
guys have a question?
Yes.
Wow.
You just.
So as you're writing down the question, start processing. Start thinking about what the question is telling you. Start thinking about the information that you're given. This is the purpose of you writing it down. It helps in the thinking process. And as you're as bright as Dean, he sees the solution as he's writing it down. This is what So everybody know the answer?
I know the question now. Oh, I know, but
I think I know.
is it 12 gigabytes for the $69?
Yeah, it's all part of this. This whole bill was $69. Now part of that was because you got charged
Okay,
for this going over by 12 gigabytes.
I got it. Can I say?
Sure, what's the answer?
His regular bill is $45.
$45?
Yeah.
So we'll put that up here.
That's what I thought.
How much does the bill cost?
So did everybody finish writing down the question at least?
Oh, I thought
No.
Yeah, I got it.
What's the next answer?
Can I say?
Sure.
89.
89?
I haven't read it. I only read that. Can you remove that little bar at the bottom so I can read the other one?
Yeah. Wait. Did you only break down the question or do we have to break down the
Oh, I guess with the question.
Sorry?
Can we just break down the question on the other ones, or do we have to break down all the information that goes with the question? I'm
What do you
getting
mean by the information that goes with the
That's
question?
like all of that, it's just
The paragraph.
information, and then the question.
Oh, no, we have to write it.
So So Dean, how'd you get $45?
Oh, yes.
Oh, so I times 12 by 2 because for every digit was charged $2.
Okay.
And then then I subtracted, and that was ended up to be 24, so I
Right.
subtracted it from the.
So yeah, so basically you said that well, for every $12, he went over $2, 12 gigabytes. Well, he just multiplied by 2 because he got charged $2 per gigabyte, and the whole bill was 69. Well, 69 minus 24 gives us 45. Kind of make sense?
For that one, it went over 18.
For the last one, you're saying it's 18?
I said
this, I got it.
89.
It's more than.
No, wait.
You read it off the back.
Okay. That was awesome intuition by Dean. I think a lot of you actually saw that as well. Is that what Dean said makes sense?
Yeah.
What we're going to do is we're going to look at it algebraically though, and just convert what Dean talked about into an equation. So that we can easily, instead of guessing for the second and third question, answer them. So really, what are our two variables that we're looking at?
2 and 145.
No, variables.
Oh.
Variables.
Number of gigabytes they go over and the total cost.
Okay, Paul. What'd you say?
The number of gigabytes they go over.
So number of
is the
gigabytes over.
independent, and then the dependent is the total cost of the
Okay, whoa. Hold on. So number of gigabytes over. And so let's give that a variable.
G.
G.
Shouldn't it be O for over?
We're talking about gigabytes.
I know, but the other one.
And so what was the other one?
Total cost.
So the total cost of the bill. So the bill. So the total cost of the bill. And what variable do you want to assign that? B? So which one was the independent and which one is the dependent variable? In other words, which one affects the other?
The number of
Total
gigabytes
cost.
over affects the total cost of the bill.
Good, thank you, Megan. So the number of gigabytes over affects your bill. So we start off our equation just by saying, well, our dependent variable is equal to something happening based on our independent variable. Right? So in this case, no, I got this
Yeah,
backwards. B is happening to something with G. Well, what effects on G affects our bill? What is it about G that's affecting our bill? What is it about G? What is it about the number of gigabytes that's going to affect our bill?
When it be 2G?
Well, that's what I'm asking. What, Vince?
Wow, you get, sorry. The gigabytes, like if you go over,
Right?
then you're charged $2 per gigabyte.
Right. So this is almost like a rate, right? It's like a rate, which is equivalent to like a slope, right? For every gigabyte that we got over, we get charged $2. So if I go 5 gigabytes over, how much do I get charged? How much extra? 5 times 2, which is 10. If I go 20 gigabytes over, how much are we getting charged? Extra. Sarah? 40, yeah, 40. So basically it's 2 times because this is our rate. Well, what's
Plus the service.
what's our regular monthly bill?
45.
Well, we don't know in this case. So here we're going to be let X equal to the regular monthly bill.
Well, what if you did not know? You just use that, put that into the equation.
Do you have to do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I know it seems intuitive, and that's the nice thing about what we're trying to do is we're trying to make something that's intuitive, something that makes sense to you, and map it to an equation, because later on we're going to need equations to solve for something a lot more complicated, like what we're doing on the bottom. Okay? So here the question is, how do we figure out what x is? How do we figure out what x is? Vince?
Well, you already know the gigabyte that went over, so you could include it there.
What? I know what?
No, it's a
You
different
know how much
question.
gigabytes went over?
How many gigabytes I go over?
12.
Oh. So wait a minute. So you're saying that
Same question.
if G is 12, then what?
Then,
It's 2
So
times.
if G is 12, then what?
then the cost times 12.
Well, my cost is extra $24. Well, what else do we know? What else do we know when we go over by 12 gigabytes?
Oh,
Yeah.
See, that really loud for everyone, Vince.
That's a total cost is $69.
That our total bill was $69. So G is 12, B is 69. So if G is 12, B is 69, that needs to fit into our equation. So here we got B is 69 is equal to 2 times, here we have G is 12 plus X. Now can we solve for X? So here we have, watch carefully here, to what I'm doing what Dean had said before. 69 is equal to 24 plus X.
Minus.
So really, X is 69 minus 24. Geez, isn't that what you said, Dean? You did 2 times 24.
Wait, but can you go minus 24 if you don't want to confuse yourself?
Well, we did minus 24.
Yeah, but that you just skipped a lot of steps.
Yes, if you want to add those extra steps in, that's fine. So here we get X is 45. That was our initial cost. So therefore, our equation to model this is B is equal to 2G plus 45. This is how we could calculate the internet bill from now on. So now that we know that, what happens when the family goes 22 gigabytes?
Instead of
Over,
12,
what's the bill?
just a G.
So we start off with our formula, 2B, B is equal to 2G plus 45. Well here, what do we know?
Oh, you know they did.
Yeah, we know the gigs. How many gigabytes were they over?
22.
So 2 times 22 plus 15. So B is equal to, 45, sorry. 44 plus 45. So B is equal to 89, as Dean had projected. Question?
No.
Okay, so that was a pretty easy part. Now that we had our equation, that was the power of our equation. I can ask you, well, what happens if Colin, sorry, it's not Colin, Mr. Ross's kid, went over by 30 gigs that month, 50 gigs, 100 gigs. He can tell me the exact cost of his internet bill. What about this question? How many gigabytes did the family go over
That's
when they charged $105?
Oh,
How do we figure that out? Work it out.
crap. Wait,
Michael,
no, it
you done
does.
working it out?
Yeah.
What's the answer?
130 gigabytes over.
130 gigabytes
You
over?
went 30. 30.
Oh, 30.
Yeah. There.
Oh, let's see. How'd you get that?
Okay, so the bill was $105.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
The bill was $105. So so 105 equals 2G plus 45.
Okay, so let me stop this back up. Just write down the equation that we had. B is equal to 2G plus 45. So what you're saying the bill was what?
$105.
So B here is 105. Now that's 2G plus 45. Is that what you did?
Yeah, and then you have to subtract 45 on both sides.
Good.
Then
So you got 105 minus 45.
which is 60.
Is equal to 2g, which leaves us to 60 is equal to 2g.
And then you have to divide 2 on both sides,
Good.
which gives you 30 equals g. So therefore, you want 30 gigabytes of
Good. Excellent. So therefore, there were 30 gigabytes over. Okay. So any questions on how we kind of solve this? Hopefully we understand, it's great that we can do the first question in our head, but if we come up with an equation, then we can answer so many more questions with it. So another question. Determine the line. Hey, at least I wasn't a story this time, alright? Determine the equation of a line that passes through 6, -1, and has a slope of -3/2. I would argue that this question was even easier than the warm-up.
Yeah, more, the numbers are more simple.
Well, not only the numbers are more simple, what am I giving you even?
The slope.
The slope. The warm-up question, you had to go figure out the slope. And that took like a whole bunch of steps. Here, I'm giving you the slope. So notice that in the internet example, I gave you the slope of 2. So how do we start this? Actually, give me time to work on it. Give me time to work on it. -3/2, yes. You don't have to do everything all I have well, okay, first of all, I can tell you it's not gonna because this it's 6 for that one specific point. Right? That's why equation always have
Hey, now it's right.
You would try to take this answer.
I get a phone.
I can't wait.
Good? Not sure what to do after that. Okay, so let's take this up really quickly. So I'm walking around, a lot of people did this as a first step, which is good. Asking for equation of a line, what are we gonna write down?
Why was that?
Oh.
Because it's what?
It's the holy
Favorite
grail
form
of
of
equations.
equation, like the most awesome form of an equation of a line. It's amazing.
Example.
Well, what's the first thing that we are given?
X and Y
Slope.
values and slope.
So slope, what's the slope, Austin? What's the slope? Maybe 3/2? Right, what's B? Well, we don't know, so we'll just leave it. Okay? So start easy, get yourself warmed up, we just know the slope for now. Well, how is it that we can calculate for B? How is it that I can calculate for B now? Sarah?
Sub in like the points.
Yeah, so we're given a point that the line passes through. Or in other words, this point is part of that line. That's what really passes through means, right? It's really part of that line. Like if I want to demonstrate this, if I had y is equal to x plus 1, and that was to graph this, right? So when x is 1, and as long as I've been through this already, if x is 0, what's y? If x is 0, what's y?
Oh. It's something on there.
If x is 0, what's y? Oh my.
If X is
If x is 0, what's y?
Plus 1.
1. So that would be that point. If x is 1, what's y?
0.
If x is 1, what is y?
Come on, guys.
2.
2. 1 plus 1 equals 2, right?
Actually,
You're all
So if it's 1, so this is 1 comma 2. This is, remember, this is how I'm getting my points. If x is 1, y is 2. That's how I'm graphing it. What happens if x is 2? What's y? 3. Thank you, Aaron. If x is 3, what's y? 4. Seeing a pattern?
Yeah.
So what this means is if I connected, if I have a whole block of points in here, right? 3, 4 is part of that line. Right? In other words, when x is 3, y is 4. It's a part of that line. But to us, it looks like it's passing through that point. So that's why we use that terminology. But really what that means is that point is part of our line. So because it's part of our line, as Sarah says, we can plug this in now. In other words, actually let me write it this way. Here, when x is -1, what's the value of y? In this equation, when x is -1, what's the value of y? Lost to 6. Right? That's what that passing through means. When x is -1, y is 6. So I got that backwards.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's next. Yeah.
yeah, I did it right.
Yeah.
So, Jenny, don't worry.
When x is 6, y is negative. Come on, stay with me. Pay attention.
Well, I was, but
I'm
I
testing you.
Yeah. That's an excuse that always works.
When x is 6, y is -1. This is why we need to be careful. Even math teachers make silly mistakes. That too. So here, I'm going to reduce to get -3, no, -9
Have a couple there.
plus b. Here, -1. I get b by itself, so I can add 9 to both sides. So b is 8.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, you're not done. Right?
Therefore,
We need to check it.
Well, b is equal to 8 is not my answer. That's not an equation.
Oh.
I'm asking for an equation.
okay, I can tell you right now.
Oh, I got
Ready?
letter for equation is y is equal to minus 3 over 2x plus 8.
Wait, why would you add the equation? You want to say the full answer to make it easier for the next one.
Pardon?
Like you don't file a negative equation, what do all your work figure out anything else?
Oh no.
Because Dean, what am I asking you? What's the question asked?
The equation of the line.
That passes through, oh.
Determine the equation of the line. In other words, what is the equation? Okay, b is equal to 8 is not my equation. It helped you solve for that, but in the end you need to put it all together to come up with the answer.
Yeah, but I'm like just saying, you got all the other answers too. You got y and x, why not throw that in your equation?
Because it's not.
Is that how you want me to teach you? I'll throw you bits and pieces over here, you go figure it out.
But that's the equation.
Gene,
No?
that's the value, that's the equation that's
Okay,
used to find
wait a minute.
E.
Oh.
What do you think the equation is, Dean? Maybe I'm confused. What do you think the equation is?
Okay. I'm saying, wait, what is, I think I just went way off. What is y again?
Y depends on what x is.
So what's x?
You tell me what x is.
X can vary to
You're
line.
thinking it's that why can't you just
Yeah, so
say-
yeah, why can you put -1 equals negative 3 over 2?
Because x is.
Because that's not an equation, because that equation doesn't tell me what the value of y would be if x is 1000.
Oh,
What happens if x is
I
1000?
see what you're saying.
Got it?
Yeah, but I thought, because I thought we're just
Okay.
trying to figure out the equation for
So you,
6.
so no, your equation will always have to have two variables in there. One variable equals something happening to another, right? So that way I can get those values. Okay, does that make sense now? Okay, last bit of notes. This is really the key point of this lesson. You can write this down if you want. Really, I just put into words what we did. You can determine the equation of a line if you know its slope and one point on that line by replacing m with that slope and then using a coordinates to figure out b. So I'll say that again. You can determine the equation of a line in y is equal to mx plus b form if you know its slope and one point on the line. By replacing m with the slope and using the coordinates x comma y from the point to substitute for x and y and solving for b. And we really did that twice in today's lesson already. 3 times actually. In the warm-up, in the internet question, and this actually worded math question. Everybody still done? Everybody know this now?
No.
Are you still recording? Why is it never
I left it somewhere. Just so that the mic will be off my laptop, and because it's all the way back there, sometimes it's hard to pick up my voice.
Why don't you put it in
Because all the connections are back there.
I do.
Okay, everybody done with this? Oh, Austin, still working on it? Sorry? Oh, these people out enough, this is like Thanks. Thanks, Megan.
No problem, Mr. Tails.
Okay, we're good?
No.
Oh, sorry. Then it's audio evidence I can provide for the parents. Whatever you say, oh, I never talk in class. I never disrupt the class. Well,
There was this one.
I have evidence that says otherwise. Okay, we're done, Christina?
Oh my god, we actually have to. It's please. We've been doing this for. Can we just hold off for a second? Yeah. Can I see what's going on?
If you look at this question, it's not even that hard before you start
It's easy,
explaining it.
guys.
No, it's more. Our brains are worn out. I just have full capacity.
Stop complaining.
Love you.
Determine the equation of the line that passes slope
Might as well do it, guys.
-4 crosses the y-axis at -5. Right.
Kill
You wanna
me.
go into- Oh.
Oh. I think that's the equation. That's the equation.
Yeah, so no, write it down and they
That
show these
honestly
people.
took me a second.
People are tired.
Yeah, that was ridiculous. That was honestly such a joke.
You know, it's gonna take Sarah a lot of effort to clean up.
That was such a joke.
Okay, who's got an answer ready? Thank you.
Equation took me so
Well,
long.
then write down the question.
No.
I'm glad we're thinking critically, because yes, this had absolutely nothing to do with our lesson, right?
Imagine. Get on.
Everybody figure out the question? Thomas,
Y equals -4 plus -4. Oh yeah, -5.
done.
Oh, that was difficult.
Really, we want to clean this up. Does it say negative, instead of plus -5? It's -5. Basically, what Thomas is saying is, well, we start off with y is equal to mx plus b. Here's our slope. When it says it crosses the y-axis, what is that really?
Y-intercept, that's your B value.
Y-intercept. So this is really your b value.
Why would you make it write that down? Because that was probably.
To test our critical thinking.
Because what happens if I change the question?
No. I like it this way. Don't change it.
So instead of the y-axis, it crosses the x-axis.
Oh.
What is the equation of the line that crosses the x-axis at -5?
Oh my, I know this. Oh, we learned about this.
Work it out! Work it out!
I don't know. Yeah.
So how do we start? Y is equal to mx plus b. Are we given something?
Yes.
What?
Slope.
Which is?
-4 still. It's a slope.
So how do I figure out b?
Oh, okay. Oh, damn. Oh, I got this.
Do it then.
No, I don't know how to do it. I can explain how to do it.
Work it out. So how do I go down calculate b? Work it out. Get it ready?
Got it.
Okay.
No, yeah, no. Yeah, I have it.
Good?
Like, these things.
Figure it out yourself.
Well, what information are we
It's
getting?
not on the answer, I'm tired of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just actually think. What information are we giving? I gave you the slope. I gave you a slope. I give you something else. Good.
What?
What on the x-axis? No. Point.
I don't
Thank you.
think you're sassy.
No, it's not sass. You just said it. A point. So what is that point?
Why is zero?
I got it.
No, Christine, no, stop. Christine is hot. What's that point? Okay, let me rephrase that. Let me rephrase that. Christina is on a roll.
Good job, Mr. Ham.
That was a good one.
But I have the power to edit videos too. Anyways, -5. So you said you're given a point. So what is that point, Christina? -5 what?
Why is it
Well, it's crossing the x-axis. So what is that point?
Okay, I got a date. I know. Shooting elastic, let me sharpen your pencil.
0.
Yeah, so.
Okay, whoa. So let's just finish this off. So we get a little hysterical. Math is fun, right?
Oh, yeah. So funny.
So Christina, has pointed out to us, or to me, and to herself, that we're also given a point where it crosses the x-axis. So what is the coordinate of that point where it crosses the x-axis? Well, it's -5 is the value of x. What's the value of y? 0. So that means we can plug that into here because it's crossing the x-axis there. So here, y is 0 when x is -5. So here, -4 times -5 gives us 20. Let's see, so b is -20. So therefore, y is equal to -4x minus 20. Why? I know. So one final question. Sorry?
I did it a different way.
How did you do it?
Okay, so while I was going over the science and some sheet that you gave me from the class I missed, I found that
That's okay. I'll talk to you about afterwards.
Yeah.
Okay, just gonna ask one last question on here. So one last question. Are the two equations here, these two lines, how can you describe these two lines? How can you describe this line and this line? They're parallel, thank you. These two lines are parallel. Where's the homework?